Dian Xue Shu, or what is more commonly known as Dimmak, is considered a mystical ability by the uninitiated, but for those who work very hard, they see it as a science. In truth, it is based on a series of general and specific 10,000-hour training goals. I have posted many conditioning drills that give some idea as to how these goals may be achieved. As a pugilist, I have learned that one must be able to gain skill in the defense of harm to the more sensitive parts of the body, mind, and spirit. Additionally, I have been taught that speed and mass, gained through the strengthening of tendons, ligaments, and the making of muscle and bone to a more denser state, makes movement deadly upon impact to those who do not train to such standards. The skills are gained through relentless training, motivated by goals that stand above the mendacity of interhuman violence. In truth, this is the goal of the individual who seeks to be a peerless boxer. I am about to read from the Dimmak Manual. It was meant to accompany the 1934 Shaolin 72 Arts of Conditioning book. The skills are above the pugilistic method only because the practitioner is willing to believe in themselves to an extent that is beyond measurement, even through observation. Moreover, they look deeply within, and they see the clutter within, and they remove it. As stated before, Western Tai Chi Ch'uan's most advanced regimens are called Wu Order Tiger Boxing. Along with the study of Vedic and Taoist yoga training, Dian Xue Shu is a natural expression of martial arts and an obvious training regimen for the adept of internal boxing. The words of Gm Zhong resonate for such a martial scientist, and make no mistake, Dian Xue Shu is a science born from ancient wisdoms concerning the human condition and potential. The visual presentations of training is being presented to help motivate internal boxers who train hard, train alone, and train to seek perfection of self. No se teipsum. And now, Dian Xue Shu, the skill of acting on acupoints, by a fellow warrior, soldier, and martial scientist, Grandmaster and Professor Gm Zhong. Today, when we speak about the Chinese martial arts, we mean two main trends and four schools. The two main trends are known as the Shaolin Way and the Wudan Way. The schools are San Huan-men, School of Three Emperors, the Xinyi-men, School of the Unity of Outer Form and Will, Bagua-men, School of 8 Trigrams, and Yan-men. Now, when people talk about Wushu, they talk about the Shaolin in terms of external school and the Wudang as an internal school. The main thing in the external school is hardness, and in the internal school, softness. But really, Shaolin school also has softness, and Wudang school, hardness. The human body is to be considered or to be described as Taiji, or the universal source of life, which basically consists of yin and yang. Interaction between yin and yang give birth to Hu-Xing, 5 elements. Their combinations bring about life, death, and development. Dian Xue technique has been developing since ancient time, and many people knew it. However, this Gong Fu is almost lost now due to selfishness. You see, many people kept it secret. At present, most specialists in this sphere of wushu belong to the category of the deadly hand. They perfectly acquire methods of defense and attack, but ignore a method of saving men. Even those who advertise their abilities in curing body damages know little about the structure of a man's skeleton and have only a small set of ready-made medicines. They cannot know all details of the art of Dian Xue. It is here that I separate from the reading or the more direct quoting of Master Zhong by speaking or talking about the works of Western martial artists and masters in the area of combat sports medicine, and also in the area of Qigong, preventive health medical practices. There are two individuals that stand very highly recommended by most people in this area. One in combat sports medicine would be Tom Bisio, and his book that one should read is The Art of, The Tooth in the Tiger's Mouth. And the second individual is any book on medicine written by Dr. Jerry Allen Johnson, who has explored areas of Demok, healing, and also traditional Chinese methods of Qigong, or energy work, a yoga that is mostly thought of as the Taoist complement to the Vedic breathing methods and poses of yoga, pranayama, or Raja yoga, even Hatha yoga. Now going back to the reading of Master or Grandmaster Zhong. He goes on to speak and say, this is general knowledge, but he does mention it, and it's important to understand this knowledge. He states, there are 12 channels, 4 main vessels, 2 heel vessels, and 2 connecting vessels in the human body. All points of the human body are situated along those channels. Moreover, there are especially important points. Points can be big, small, living, and dead. Total number of big points is 108, including 72 points which cause, if affected, the numbing or paralysis of extremities. There are 36 points which will cause death if not acted upon, and if struck too strongly, especially in the case of the more deadlier 13 points that are illustrated in the acupuncture book. These points, of course, are part of the 36. There are 271 small points, and there are 72 points that can cause faintness or the loss of consciousness. There are points which cause, if acted upon, numbness or atrophy, the temporary loss of physical strength. It is not fatal, but it leads to temporary loss of an enemy's ability to resist. I wish all Dian Xue practitioners to lay stress on morals rather than force. This is what the Grand Master states. He states that, from one hand, employing the art of Dian Xue, it is possible to withstand hostile attacks by multiple attackers, and it can be used for self-defense. It can also help one avoid a lot of troubles. From the other hand, with that method, people can be cured and saved. If you have force and display unbridled license to use it, you will only injure people, only kill, and not save them. So you can be up to a lot of troubles, but those troubles will cause a karma that will not be one that is inviting or welcome. Such actions not only break law, but they will also be punished by the Almighty as well. This is the road to true death, death of the body, eventually, the mind, and inevitably, the spirit. The Grand Master states, this is a wrong choice. He also goes on to say, it is permissible to act on acupoints in order to harm, damage a man, only for the sake of a just manner. Sometimes one cannot help from using it. For instance, if you face a strong enemy who intends to maim or even kill you. In that case, if you don't react in due manner, it will mean the same as if you are waiting for execution with arms tied. However, one can act rightfully or unrightfully in such a situation. It is often enough just to weaken, neutralize the villain, to eliminate danger. In connection with the above statements, the art of acting on points requires good technical preparedness and high mental qualities. Besides these requirements, it is necessary to perfect the knowledge of the meridians, at least the ones that you're going to use, even though all are interconnected. The Jing, as in Jing Lo for the Wudang school, describes the starting from acupuncture skills through written explanations. One must learn to find the points at a glance, find the channels, then the adept will have to master, only then will the adept have mastery in the martial art. In a word, punching and kicking are outer manifestations of this type of Kung Fu. Kung Fu, again, is somewhat translated as hard work or discipline aimed at achieving skill. The Grand Master goes on to say, a man who learns Dian Xue practices close. He means infighting, or actual internal Kung Fu. In this sense, he means the breathing, the silence, the ability, as Master Xing of the Chen family Tai Chi Ch'uan states, the ability to still the body to the point where it is not moving at all. However, to have complete control, to gain somewhat control over its inner workings. Not every man is capable of succeeding in this knowledge. Not every man can be trained. Before teaching a man the technique, it is certainly necessary to understand that that man suits this type of learning. He or she may not. The technique should not be taught in the same manner as common pugilistic methods known as Chuan Fa. If a man has great abilities, strong and uncompromising nature, even though he is short and the strength of his arms not great, that person can still have success. Diligence is the key. Relentlessness is the key. Burning passion is the key. And the mastery and the access of compassion is the result. The only true result. I have to say that in the training that I have done and the little stuff that I'm showing in these presentations, the most important aspects of it is that it doesn't matter if you can put the light out in one shot. It doesn't matter if I can topple or crush any fruit or crush things in my fingers. None of this matters. What matters is how I got there. And in this sense, this is how maturity or respect is gained. Much pain. Much pain. Much pain. Much failure, or at least defeat, with regard to trying to do it. Much adversity. Much doubt had to be overcome. But as my Grandmaster taught me, it's not about the hate, it's about the love. Love of self, which I have come to know is defined as discipline. There is no other word that can complement or describe the actions of love for the martial scientist, because in that discipline is where compassion is found. The Grandmaster goes on to say, there are various and diverse training methods for the fingers. As you see in the video, my fingers are being trained and developed. Even on working the wooden dummy, very few times do I strike it with knuckles. For the most part, it is struck with the fingers. The fingers must be conditioned. There have been conditioning films which I have presented, which show conditioning of the fingers. I very much recommend that you go back to the Sing Family Internal Pugilism channel on the YouTube, find those conditioning drills if you're interested in what you see, and add them to the drills you may already be doing. It is necessary to choose one or several methods and systematically adhere to the strengthening of the finger methods. Finger training can be done either successively or simultaneously with other required exercises. There are in the 72 arts such wonderful exercises as the diamond finger or the Buddha finger, piercing stones, rubbing hands to the heavenly dragon roller, the cinnabar palm, rubbing in thrusts. There's also the board of spruce that can be used for training. Additionally, some more basic training is just using heavy boating balls or the heavy iron balls that are colored silver. Moving yourself up to 2 pounds and being able to manipulate those balls, or 2.5 pounds, having at least 5 pounds in your hands while you're working and doing that all day long. That simple training over time allows you to be able to do at a minimum the things you see me do, and at a maximum things that you could only imagine. The fact of the matter is, it's like a physical fitness test. Unlike other tests, you just can't cram for it. It's something that is done over time. And after time and relentless training, it's part of your life. And this is the way the skills are accomplished. The Grandmaster goes on to talk about and say that the middle and forefinger are to be trained, and only the forefinger. It is necessary to touch a board of spruce with a fingertip, at first lightly, then stronger and stronger. 3 months later, the fingertip becomes noticeably harder as compared with its state at the beginning of training. After a year, the finger is thought to be sufficiently trained. But if you continue training, the result will be better. It is possible to inflict significant body damage by using this type of Kung Fu. This is also called outer Kung Fu, but it is necessary. It's the yin and yang concept. The finger must be strong enough, the body must be strong enough to be able to funnel the powers that will be put through it through your Taoist and Vedic yoga training. It is necessary that a finger should touch the acupoints at some point, either by simulation or by reality, hopefully under a trainer or a master. Achievement of a level of success demands hard training during a year at least. But in truth, those types of measurements really guidelines to time don't really matter. It's the 10,000 hour rule, the 10,000 repetition rule, done and focused either specifically, first generally for the task at hand, and then the specifics as weaknesses are found. It is in this way that the maturity of the martial artist is found, and that the power of compassion comes out. After finger training, and one finds success, one can proceed to the exercise of blows. It is combined training which allows one to fix in the mind the acupuncture points and channels of vital energy and find them at a glance. It is also done in a way that it is necessary to take a big log, or as you see me do, a full-scale human dummy, a wooden dummy, and the dummy should have everything on it marked at the locations. Even if you can get that dummy to look like a human body, it's even better. Grandmaster says mark the locations, the locational points in red paint. Dimensions of the marks should correspond to the true dimensions of the points as much as possible. main channel should be marked with paints of different colors. When everything is ready, the trainee faces the dummy at a distance, about 33.3 centimeters. Then it is necessary to think of a point and ask somebody to name it. Namely, concentrate the energy at the tip of one or two fingers and touch this point. If you are sure of having done everything properly, you can proceed to the next point. It is not easy to do, and at the beginning, mistakes can be made often. That's why it needs to be done every day, hundreds of times during the day. Gradually, everything will be done right. I have found that the combination of Wudang Tai Chi Ch'uan, or Supreme Ultimate Fist from the Wudang, and Wing Chun Quen, or Supreme Ultimate Fist of the Shaolin, are excellent physical training regimens and systems to begin to employ for practice Dimmak.